Hey everybody, I'm Jon Krolewicz with the SCCA, and we are at Sebring International Raceway, and we're on a track walk, which is a really cool opportunity that sometimes you'll get when you go out to a racetrack. You get to go walk around and look at the things that you don't always see at speed that you want to pay attention to. And while there's a lot of things at Sebring that are specific, what we're going to do today is we're going to take a group of drivers from the time trial and we're going to talk about the top 5 things that you want to see and you want to look for when you're on the track and you're doing that track walk. Those 5 things are looking at the track environment, things that are hard to see at speed and detail, the grass beside the track, where there's dirt patches. We're going to talk about curbing, how much you can use, where to see you can use it. We're going to talk about the brake markers that you use, looking at where to brake, and we're going to talk about things in the background of the track, buildings and trees, and then we'll get into a little bit of the topography of the track in terms of what the bumps are and what the track surface does and how it affects your car. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about when we're on that track walk is how to read the environment right around the track. So not necessarily the surface, but just off track, what the features are like, what the landscaping is like. You'll notice that a lot of tracks you go to, they'll put cones up to help you know where to turn in and where to put your car. But a couple of things with that. One, it's not always the same for every car. It's sort of arranged, and a lot of times you'll have people that knock them down during the weekend. So a lot like Hansel and Gretel, you don't want to look at breadcrumbs that get moved and get picked up and stuff, but you want to look at stuff on the track that doesn't move. So what we want to pay attention to when you're looking at where to put your car, a lot of times is where there's no grass growing. And that's because this is where the cars are. This is where people are getting close to it. And this is how you can tell where the real line of the track is. And so you'll look, if there's grass right up to the edge of the track, you know that most of the drivers just aren't putting their car there. But where there is dirt that you see, you know that this is where you're going to be close. And you can read when you go all the way up, and when that dirt ends, you know that turn-ins after that are just going to be too late. And so you get a good range of where you want to put your car, where it's going to be close to the edge, and then where you leave the edge to turn into the corner. And you can also look at that not just on corner entry, but also on corner exit, where there's going to be dirt out there. And so whether or not that curbing is there, whether or not the cone gets knocked down that they've placed, whatever's there, these features don't change at racetracks, and you can use this to really know where the line is and read that quickly, whether you've been there a lot or whether it's your first time at a place like Sebring. All right, so we talked about what was beside the track in terms of landscaping and grass and what to look for there. But one of the next critical points that you want to look at on a track walk is these all-important brake markers to really get a good understanding of how far they are before the corner, of where you're going to get your braking done, where you're going to get your downshifting done, and how you're planning to turn in and where your eyes are on approach to a corner. So it's always good on a track walk to really get an understanding of what the distances are. Sometimes they might be in 50-foot intervals, sometimes they might be in 100-foot intervals, sometimes they might be in 100-yard intervals. So getting out here, getting to see the space and really understand it is super important on a track walk. The other thing that we want to talk about is what to look around the track at, not necessarily the grass right beside the track, but what's in the background. And frequently at a track, you'll get to, and there'll be corners that are hard to tell apart when you're first learning. Here at Sebring, we're looking at turn 10, but there's another corner a little later, turn 13, and they're 90-degree corners. In terms of the layout of the corner, they're a lot alike. So in order to tell them apart, in this case, you get to see a building in the background. So you know, okay, 10 is the one with the building in the background, and 13 happens to be called tower turn because there is a tower in the background. And so you'll use geographic features like that are in the background to help you learn the track, help you get to know the track, and help you memorize where you are and what's coming next. All right, so we've talked about the things you look at beside the track. We've talked about your braking zones and looking at brake markers. The next thing when you're going through that corner, when you're doing that track walk that you want to look at is curb use. Some cars love a lot of curbs, some don't like any at all. So when you come out to the track, when you're doing your track walk, you want to understand what the curbs are like. You want to understand what the ramp is, what the change is. How much can I use? Can I use this much? Can I use that? Are people using it? Here you really get to see that a lot of people get to use this, and the rubber is sticky if I touch it. So being there and feeling that and feeling how much is used by other drivers is a great way for you to get your bearings and decide how much you want to use when you're out here in your car. So the last thing we want to talk about on our list of most important things to pay attention to on a track walk is the track surface itself and what it does. So many tracks are super smooth, you know them, we love them. We happen to be at Sebring, which is famous for its bumps. So this is a perfect corner to do this at and to look at. But what you see here is, you can see in this case, it's the concrete that has been poured and the expansion joints in the concrete and what they do to the car. But in addition to that, the things that we really want to pay attention to is you can see here where the dark spots appear on the track. And that's because as the car goes through here, that tire is bouncing up and down and it's got alternating pressure on the track. And so now you can see and understand what your suspension's doing, what your car's doing, and what you as a driver need to do to compensate it, or where to put your car to avoid it. So when you come out to the track and you see it, you can read what the cars have written on the track by looking at the surface. Thanks for coming on this Sebring track walk. Thanks for listening to what we learned about the track, about curbs and grass and marks on the pavement. I want to thank all these drivers for coming out and talking to us and helping us through this. And hopefully it's going to help you as well when you come out to your next event.